The van unprotestingly rumbled through the night, lit only by what Les could describe as horror movie clouds. A paper-thin haze of dust clung to the windshield that was badly in need of cleaning as the headlights cut through the desert air. To a van is the closest thing that a human can experience next to crate training, just like a dog. A rolling mass of black metal that contained its own jokes, language, and stories. Essentially, its own culture. Van life is a life that few can understand. And depending on the hygiene of the van, its own ecosystem. A traveling carnival is about the closest thing that you can come to replicating it. Think Carnival, but with leather jackets and more tattoos. Yo! How much longer till we're there? My eyes are turning yellow, John said to the driver as he passed the bottle forward, slashing with the bumps in the road, gripping the bottle smoothly over his shoulder, like an experienced relay racer would grip a baton. He had mastered the skill from years on the road. He could also roll a joint with one hand, a true sight to behold from even the most astute gentleman. Les's eyes caught John for half a second before he immediately followed John's gaze to the cup that once contained the contents of a big gulp rolling around on the floor. After noticing the sheepish look come across John's face, he watched him shake his head like he was almost watching a movie, immediately diverting the conversation. "This is it. We make this gig, we're in like Flynn, son," John exclaimed. "I'm just getting tired of getting dressed in fucking broom closets that are shared with an ice machine, especially in the dead of summer New Orleans. It's always the small things that really make life worth living in this industry. You don't do it for the Maseratis, kid," Les silently thought to himself. Les snapped back into the present, out of the past, just as fast. His graying pompadour fell in front of his face as he bent the string in time to the music. Bends. It's always the bends that bring back the most emotion. As he headed to the climax of the sequence of the notes he was playing, a distant memory burst through any semblance of the zone he was in, taking him back to the days of the band, just as the bend hit proper pitch. His mind instantly cut to the orange walls of the dressing room, and the opening band was getting the crowd good and warmed up. It was a decent club. The sound man was a friendly sort, and the menu actually had items on it that didn't come from a deep fryer, and there was an actual green room. But this one was different. Someone had decided to decorate the wall to the best of their ability, more than likely waiting for the gig. Once they'd completed the sound check, and were hurrying up to wait, more than likely. He remembered that particular graffiti plain as day. He also remembered making this exact same bend. It was a drawing of Charlie Daniels, the fiddling Christian who wrote the epic high-tempo ballad about the devil losing a fiddling contest to a hayseed named Johnny. Charlie Daniels was delivering a flying sidekick to the back of a nondescript drawing of a man with his eyes and tongue bulging from his head, with a word bubble that proudly proclaimed, "It's a fiddle. Call it a violin one more time and I'll kick your goddamn eyes out." Sighing, Les exhaled. "Well, you got gems and you got toilets. Hopefully we're done with toilets." You could barely hear him mutter as he added, "About damn time." Les closed his eyes even tighter with the next string bend, and his mind shot back to that night in the van. "That new design for the shirt should be ready by the time we get back from the tour," their road manager said after clearing her throat, breaking the awkward silence. She diligently returned back to her binder and flipped through until she found exactly what she was looking for. After passing by it once, then twice. In one swift motion, she one-handedly snapped open her blue rhinestone cigarette case and retrieved a joint that was twisted so perfectly, you'd think she had a PhD in rolling bones. Flicking the lighter, she watched to make sure the paper didn't run too much. She knew it wouldn't, but flashed a hidden smirk to herself for her silent achievement as the smoke curled into the air. She exhaled. She noticed Dylan's eyes trying to catch a glimpse of what shenanigans were going on behind him. "Eyes on the road, mister," she said playfully. Immediately, Dylan sheepishly redirected his eyes back to the dark, hazy road. "Just one more gig, baby. "I cannot wait to tear their faces off," John exclaimed. He knew that gig was going to be the one that put the nail in the coffin. The record execs had everything ready to go. The crowd, the lights, the pyro. This was a long way from playing in the corner of pool halls and VFW halls, even playing private parties at mansions that they knew they would have never been able to set foot in. But when you rock, and it's not your fault. The gigs are the gigs. I heard they even replaced our exact amps. Les grew tense at that thought, because he had his tone, his settings, his sounds. And every time he was told there would be a decent backline, if Pinocchio were near, his nose would have poked every promoter square the fuck in the eye for claiming such falsities. As Les began to think about this, John's excitement was drowned out when the van began violently shaking unexpectedly. Not like a oops, touch and go rumble, but a what the fuck rumble, like throwing a car into park while doing 120 km down the Autobahn. Panicking from this momentary slumber caused by the booze and exhaustion, he immediately yanked the wheel.